That kind of fixed it. I'm tired. Hey y'all, it's Brewja with Brewja. Today I am talking about just life in general. I am getting really used to just saying that intro, and it's just interesting. But so this is the first month of 2022, and I wanted to do my little January Chisme. Usually I write the blog about it, and just leave it like that. I felt like it would be weird if I went back and tried to recreate those, but I want to make that into a more consistent thing that I do moving forward. So Chisme, and for those folks who don't know what it means in Spanish, it is gossip. It is a part of my brand. And I don't think of Chisme as gossip. I think of it more as a means to have a conversation with somebody. Like you have cafecito chisme, you have a little cup of coffee and you talk, spill the tea, whatever it is. But it's a way to get together with people, right? And that's kind of the premise of why I started Brewja Co. But also, it's like a segment that I do as a part of Brewja Co. It's a monthly blog to let people know, hey, here are the things we've done. And hey, like, you know, these are the new things that are out, because I am living a lifestyle of just, I don't even know what to call it anymore. Just casual disassociation. Just very casual. Don't mind me. Anyways. But I wanted to talk about this month. So January, I feel like, has never been like a normal month ever. It's a variety of things. You're just coming off the holidays, so for me, like, we celebrate Christmas and we celebrate New Year's, and then there's just like a bunch of stuff in between it, but then we're not done technically, because then we have 3-day kings or whatever, and it's just ongoing, and there's just a lot of social things, and it's just exhausting. So you know, getting off of just kind of that relaxation too, it's just kind of like going back to work. I mean, even as a freelancer, that is my life now. This is my work. It's put into perspective how much I work though, because for this break in particular, I'm used to having winter breaks off just completely, and this is the first year where that didn't happen, because it's my first year running Brewja Co. full time. So I had like maybe a few days here and there, but it wasn't like a week, 2 weeks, or any of that stuff. But it completely derailed my entire schedule. So January has literally just been catching up with everything. And when I mean everything, I mean everything. There are like consigners that I have to communicate, like, hey, this is how much money has been made, this is how much I need to pay you, this is how much I take. And then there's like things like the previous conversations in December that just weren't finished because I was organizing the December events. So, and then going to December events as well, because that's a big holiday, it's a big season for a lot of artists. So, you know, having like the conversations of like, what are we going to do for 2022 between the months of November and December aren't fully quite hashed out, but then January is like kind of the deadline. So I had a lot of those, and it was just like layers upon layers, and I decided to go back to school. So I am going to school again, and hopefully we'll finish our degree in 2022. This is kind of just a something that kind of jogged my brain a little bit, because I thought the last time I went to school was like maybe 3 years ago, like full time. And when I was talking to the head of music there, I was telling him, oh yeah, maybe it's like been 3 years, but I don't think it's been that long. And then he was like, oh, what's the last year you went to? And I was like, 2017. And then I like blinked a little bit. I'm like, that's not 3 years. Oh my God, it's not 3 years. But basically he quizzed me on a bunch of stuff, and I was just like, I don't remember anything. How am I supposed to go back and finish the one class that's like the final cycle of all of music and musicking? What am I supposed to do if I show up and I'm like, I don't know what any of this shit means? So I was like, fuck, maybe I should go to class. And I told him, like, but I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to pay for my education. What the fuck? And he was so kind. Like, I told him straight up, I was like, you know what? Like, I just wanted to take lessons so I could be better than my students and make sure that I'm on top of my shit and be able to keep teaching, right? And then he offered me money if I took 6 credit hours, and I was like, okay. And so yeah, so back in school, still catching up from last year, basically, or November, December's planning, and also trying to plan out my year. If you haven't seen my video on my New Year's resolutions, it's got quite a long road to figuring out life right now. Yeah, it's just hard right now. Because of that, I'm trying to commit to making a video once a week. I'm nowhere near being ahead. I usually record the video the day of and edit it the day of, and then I'm rushing all of Wednesday. But this time I pre-planned, and I actually worked on making sure I have everything ready beforehand. So it's been kind of a crazy month. And then also just starting a Twitch channel where I am committing a substantial amount of time during the week. And it's a lot of fun, and I see a lot of value in it, but the thing is, I've gotten into the cycle of just working all day, every day. And I think this is a big issue with like just a lot of freelancers, that we don't know when to stop because your passion has become your work and your work is your passion, and it's not just all fun and games all the time. It beats a 9 to 5. Like, don't get me wrong, like I have fun doing this, but days like today where I'm just like, I just want to go to bed, I just want to relax, like I just don't want to do anything today, I don't want to do anything for the next week, isn't necessarily an option. And so that's kind of what I've been navigating right now and trying to balance right now. I am not in this stage where I can fully just be like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna take a month off or take even a week off. I'm not at a stage yet where I can comfortably do that with Brewja Co. I can maybe take a day off, but that's still not enough to recuperate from 12-hour days and all that stuff. So it's been a little rough, and yeah, it's just like managing all these projects and also keeping on top of school now. So it's been a little rough. And I think I just wanted to talk about that because I think honestly, this is a thing that, as I'm not even going to say creative, just as a collective, that a lot of us, we don't get a break even if we want to. And it's hard. And I want to be transparent about that because I think, especially with social media and like the face that I put on for business and stuff and my social media stuff, I'm not gonna be all this pressy spaghetti all the time. Like I can't, like that would not be good look. And also it's just, you embellish your life a little bit on social media, right? And I think that's pretty much why I wanted to kind of just talk about this a little bit, because like, how do you prevent burnout when you can't necessarily rest in that way? And I wanted to share these things too. I know this is more of like a, hey, catch up with things, but I also want to just talk about things that I am consistently working on. I'm not 100% on being able to do these like as a habit. I still go back to my old ways of just working all the time. So, but me and my therapist talk about this a lot because I always tell her, I'm like, I'm so exhausted. Like I literally just need things to stop so I can recuperate. And you know, what do you do when that's not necessarily a choice? Kind of just been thinking about it a lot, on just reflecting on the things that we've talked about. and trying to compartmentalize what is the best thing that I can do right now. And one of the things that we had talked about is how can we snatch a bit of our time back to relaxing? Like, what are some things that we can do throughout the day to have kind of like these micro me times, you know? And so one thing that I am very adamant about every single morning is making sure that my morning coffee, I know it's like, oh, the coffee person and their coffee, like, of course. But for my morning coffee, and well, let's just talk with my morning coffee. I make sure that I just sit down, drink, and enjoy it instead of taking it on the go. I used to very much be the person, and I was noticing that like coffee was no longer something enjoyable to me. It was just something that was helping me sustain a very unhealthy lifestyle. And so I wanted to undo that because for me, coffee is my life, right? And so I've made it a habit that I snatch about 10 minutes to sit down and drink my coffee with my breakfast or whatever, and just be there and not think about like, oh, what are we going to do today? What are we going to do that? Like, what's the next best thing that we got to do? Oh my God, I have so many bills to catch up on, blah, 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 all these things. Like, I try to practice presence in that moment. And it really does set me up for a better day. Today, I didn't necessarily have that because I had the worst sleep of my life. I mean, like, maybe I'm being over dramatic, but I love my sleep. And when it's not good, I have a shitty day. And that brings me to my next point, is that you just have to, like, as a freelancer or anybody, you have to try to establish your sleep schedule, and you have to try to like fit it in and make sure that nobody touches that time, because sleep is a fundamental. It is something that you need to live. Like, you need it. You can't just avoid it and just not sleep. It affects everything. Made my hair better. I don't know why I did that. Why I didn't do that earlier. Anyways, but it's something that I think that a lot of us forget about. I mean, and I'm not saying like, oh, we just don't want to go to sleep. I think a lot of us want to go to sleep, but what do? Sometimes we have our phones in our bed. We have like these unhealthy ways of sleeping in terms of things like that. We don't necessarily put time before to kind of just calm down your brain and your body to just relax and fully get ready for sleep. We put on alarms that don't necessarily follow our REM cycle, etc. We drink caffeine before bed. Whatever it is, we don't have a steady schedule. If we have the option to, all these things that we do that end up negatively impacting us is something that I am trying to focus on, because I do bring my phone to bed. Like, I'm sometimes editing videos in bed on my phone, and that's not necessarily something I want to do and want to continue doing. And so that is one of my personal things that I'm trying to work on, so I can be better in the morning and be in a better mood throughout the day and be a little bit more productive with the little time I have for Brewja Co now. Some of the other things that during like super busy times, or people who have 2 or 3 jobs, because this was definitely me before, just making sure that you, take your breaks. Even though I'm my own employer and I let myself have lunch whenever I want and however long I want, I sometimes don't take it. And it's because I am committed to my work. I am committed to making this thing just go and do things, right? Like, I want it up and running. I want it to be successful. But it negatively impacts me because then I'm hangry and cranky, and then this phase happens where I'm just exhausted and don't necessarily want to record a video, or don't necessarily want to finish my blogs, or whatever it is. Take your breaks. At work, whatever you do, your 9 to 5, take your breaks. They are legally obligated to give you those things. And I have to tell myself this as a freelancer, like, go take a damn break. I am not at the stage in my career yet where I feel completely comfortable of just, doing whatever. But I have to be able to give myself 30 minutes, right? So that's another thing, and that's just other ways of practicing self-care in moments of high intensity work. What's another thing? Like making sure you sit down and have your meals, planning out your meals. Like, self-care isn't all bubble baths and like all these things. It's like kind of momming yourself into making sure you do your things. Like, you brush your teeth, you eat, you make sure that you bundle up, and all of these things, and one of them is making sure that you eat every day. And I have been terrible about it. Like, I realized yesterday and this is so horrible, I only drank my hot chocolate like twice, and I had 2 cups of it throughout the entire day. It is caffeinated on top of that. So not only was I just drinking, which hot chocolate arguably in this situation would probably be a better choice than caffeinated hot chocolate, I was drinking this milk with bean juice and chocolate, and that was what I ate. So it's been pretty rough. Like, and the thing is, it's not like that just affects your day of how you eat. It affects the day after. So hence why I probably feel like death. It's because my body's malnourished. I drank a bunch of caffeine yesterday, woke up in the middle of the night multiple times, like my sleep was horrible, and then affecting my productivity today. Like, it was better that I just stay home, honestly. It was probably one of those types of days that I should have just stayed home, rested, so on Saturday or Sunday or like whatever, I'd be able to comfortably just work, fully rested and recovered. Other things like, there was another good one that she gave me, and and I wish I followed all this, but I want to relay it because I feel like if I say it in a video, maybe I'll just be like subliminal messaging. And like I said it, I can't lie to the people. I have to do it. But another big thing, and this one I am actually really on top of it because I don't think I can survive without it now, is writing in my what is it called? Scheduler. My planner. I cannot live with my planner anymore. I think it worked against me because I haven't touched a plan. Like, I've had a planner for 2020. Obviously, that was just out the window as soon as March hit. I had one for 2021. I wrote in it twice, and then I have one now. And this time I was like, no, there's just no way I can buy another planner, more stationary, that I'm not going to use. Like, this one I actually have to use. I'm noticing that I'm getting a lot more anxious, and it's because I'm trying to store all this information up here. And I'm very good at remembering things. That's the thing. But once I start forgetting things, it means that there is too much in my head and not enough doing. So I started my planner, which I'm very happy about because it's actually alleviated a lot of my stress, because as soon as I think of, oh, I need to do that, write it out, and it's out of my mind because I will schedule it. And that's the one thing, it's a hard skill to have, actually, especially with somebody with ADHD brain. It's really hard to be like, okay, well, you can't do 27 things today. You can maybe do 2 today and then 2 tomorrow, maybe. Maybe one day you feel really like pumped and you do 5 things. But I at least like knowing, for example, there was this one thing that I'm like, I just pushed it off until May. Because I was like, it is not important right now. Like, it is tax season for me. I need to do several things. I need to call several companies and stuff like that just take priority over anything else. And that's stuff that's big. Like, it is important to me, but I am one person managing this mega business, this mega idea of a business. And most of it's website related and social media related, because that is the foundation of like an e-commerce business, right? So working on several things like that has just been rough. And I feel like, you know, my chismes end up being more of like life is rough more often than like, here are the things that I've done. But I'm gonna switch over to that because I can complain about it more and more. And I know, I could be like, I could be all chipper and laugh and stuff, but I'm truly exhausted. But there are some things that I successfully managed to do in January 2022. I finally got my wholesale page up and I got my wholesale pricing, and I wrote out a description for my coffee, wrote out a description for my chocolate, and I just feel so much better. Like, just so much better. Like, you don't understand how much better I feel, because that was one of the, like, when I started making my task list, which is like this massive Excel sheet of just things that Brewja Co needs to do, that I was essentially, if I didn't finish it within the month, push it to the next month, and it kept doing that, right? The one thing that has been on there since I started that page, which was maybe February of 2021, so that was almost a year ago, that I've been wanting to make a wholesale page. And I just felt like the idea was very intimidating, because I knew it wasn't just going to be like, oh, you just throw up that you do wholesale and that's it. No, essentially what ended up happening, and this is where I'm going to get a little nerdy, with my website, if you go on it, it has several different pages, and these pages will lead you to different things. Now, that doesn't sound too complicated. Well, it is complicated within itself just doing that. But when wholesale, I don't want it to take away over everything, because that's not my primary thing. Well, like most of those things, I call up people and be like, hey, I just started doing wholesale, blah, 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 blah. I just wanted to let you know, if you ever need something, just let me know. And then I roast on the 15th and the 30th or whatever it is, right? And I do that. And then I don't worry about it. But it doesn't, like, most people who are visiting my website aren't necessarily looking for that. They're looking for, what new art does she have? Does she have more coffee? What is her coffee about? She hasn't written about that. Oh, gosh. You know, stuff like that. So I didn't want it to take away from it, but I needed it to still be on the main website, but link you to something else. Oh my God, something else. So what ended up happening is that essentially I had to build a second website that is within the website, all about wholesale, basically taking out all the things from wholesale, or the things that I want to put as wholesale, and pushing them down into another website that is linked to one of the tabs. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it makes sense in my head. But basically there is my website, Brewja Co, and then there's a sub website under Brewja Co that's like wholesale from Brewja Co. It took me, like, honestly, it's not fully finished, but it's functioning. It took me, like, I went into hyper focus because I had a deadline with somebody. It took me 13 hours straight. I literally sat at a computer and did this shit. I did not eat. This is terrible. Don't do this. Don't do it. Don't do it. But I literally sat at my computer for 12 hours straight staring at a screen, and I wanted to, like, peel my face off, but I finished it. And I was happy because it's like, that's the one thing I'm like, oh my God, I'm so accomplished. I'm so organized. And then everything else is like on fire or whatever. But no, it's honestly one of those big wins in my book, because it's like, I just saw basically a lot of loose ends from all the other side projects I've been doing just get tied up in a knot really easily. And it just made sense. And finally, and I got my first wholesale client because of that. So it was like such a huge win, because that means I have one customer that is committing to me once a month, and maybe more. It just depends on how their sales go. But that was so amazing to me. Like, I am just unbelievably grateful for that. And something that also grew out of like having really committing to social media is me discovering this thing called a content repository. Basically, it is just this database of all the content that you can post. I can get really nerdy about this, but there's a such thing as evergreen content and like the content that has a short lifespan, basically. But evergreen content is content that has a long lifespan. What does that mean? It means like posts that I can keep reposting. And I didn't know that this was okay, because I was always like, I need to come up with the newest thing, blah, blah, blah. And part of it is because we see big companies like Target and Amazon coming up with the same things, but like, you know, they're different because they're different styles or whatever, but it's the same thing. And so I was like, oh, I need to keep up with that. I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm going to be able to keep up with like Target and like Amazon and all those big companies. Like, there's just no way. Like, there's no way for a single human to match a multi-million-dollar industry company thing. And I had to remind myself that. And so I ended up researching social media marketing and its rules and stuff like that. And I just discovered a lot of things that I was just like, oh, that makes my life so much easier. But basically, once I started doing this content repository, which is this database of things that I can post, right? I realized I'm not done with it by any means. I'm nowhere near done. But I realized that I have enough content for an entire year without repeating. Because by the time I was done, I had over 100 slots of things that I could just keep reposting, right? And I was just like, it was another massive win in my book that I don't get to necessarily nerd out on anywhere, because honestly, do y'all want to listen about content repositories? I don't know. Maybe you do if you're an artist or if you're like trying to grow your business. Yeah, you do, but I can't necessarily send this in my email letter. Like, guys, I figured out life. But that said, this thing made me realize that the work that I have been doing for about 8 months now finally made sense why I was doing it. Like, now, when I was doing it, it doesn't mean that I didn't know what I was doing. I just didn't see the results. I didn't know why. I knew why I was doing it, but there is no immediate like reward out of anything I've done. And so it's been really frustrating to be like this for several months, and to finally see it make sense on why I did all that. It just made life, like, things have been moving faster within a week, because I realized that all that work that I've been doing, not everyone on my channels or my social media or any of that stuff have been able to read it. Because when you are, especially for people who post because they want people to see the stuff that you've been doing, about 2% of your followers maybe see that stuff. 2%. That, I have like maybe almost 1,600 followers. That's about, how much is that? Like 20 or so people, which is about how many likes I get on every post. That's insane. So what ends up happening? People don't see the stuff that you write. And so for me to find comfort in just being able to repost for almost an entire year without repeating, that's amazing. That means I can post up to 5 times a day, and maybe I'll repeat 3 times a year, which is not bad by any means. I have to finish the content repository to make the exact calculations of that and how I'm going to keep reposting and that sort of thing. But nonetheless, I found out that literally everything that I have been writing on my website, have been creating on YouTube, creating on Twitch, all these things that I have been creating, maybe not in the extent of making a painting, but like creating art in a different capacity finally makes sense. I'm finally starting to see the reward of it. Like, if I really, really wanted to, I could just not paint or draw or do anything for the next year. And people wouldn't know because it would look new to them. I would just need to take more pictures and that's it. Like, so it was a huge win for me to have, like, discover, number one, that a content repository is a thing that marketers use. And then the second thing is just to realize that I have a massive database of content. And I was thinking that maybe, like, you know, I was just starting out, I only have 28 videos, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't mean anything. And so I just feel so grateful about it. And it's excited me. And, you know, it's these wins that help me keep going. Even during the hard parts, is like, they're not even small, they're really big wins, but in the grand scheme of things, like, especially like my 1-year goal, my 5-year goals and all that stuff, it's comparatively smaller than those big goals. But the reason they're so exciting is because those goals are leading to that big one, and I see it, and I see the path of it going there. Now it might not be a straight path, but it is a path that I can see it happening. So that is the Chisme. I feel like I could keep talking, I could keep going, but you know what? Like, I wanna go to bed. But I think, you know, ending it on a positive note is like, I feel really good now. I feel a little bit more rejuvenated. I'm pretty sure you saw that at the beginning of the video where it was like, hey. And now I have a little bit more of like a little pep in my step or my talk. Maybe it's also because I drank some water, because I've been dehydrated. I don't think I'm supposed to curse on YouTube. But yeah, that's January 2022 Chisme. Usually I'm drinking coffee while I write these blogs, or my second cup of coffee that is literally for sustenance. But I just wanted to finish this up. I just wanted to talk about it because she's exhausted. But yeah, that's January. I wonder what February will like entail. Like, I'm curious to see what February has for me. It is a month that seems like it's just jam-packed because of the events that I have. I'm working with several different other people on curating stuff. I'm also launching a coffee line with somebody else, and it's just like really big projects and seeing them come to fruition. So super excited about February, and I will see you next week, honestly, because, you know, I do this every Wednesday, so make sure to subscribe, and I will see you soon. Also, I'm gonna be doing this Chisme every week. So, no, not every week, because that's a lot. Once a month, because it serves as a reflection to me, because also these videos, like, especially these Chismes, like these blogs, are not necessarily for everybody else. It's like, I think it's a nice bonus, but it's also for me when I'm like old, that I can look back on them and be like, I remember when I was young and I was stressing out about nothing, and you know, I just want to be able to do that. So like, if you keep following me in like 90 years, you might see a video then too, like, where I'm just like, I remember in January 2022 okay, I'm just gonna stop by.